Other mechanisms to free up legal constraints, move forward and get the technology into the hands of the developing countries so that they can move ahead with this transition.
Even inside government, collaboration is challenging. For many years, governments have found it difficult to enable their internal policy departments to work in a coordinated way. In the climate change scenario, this is unhelpful, as the challenge connects everything and has to be dealt with holistically. A government's environment ministry decides to put a tax on business energy consumption. The economics ministry welcomes the idea, but the trade department is unhappy, of course. The public enter the debate mostly positive about the change. However, with a concern about unemployment as a result, the government needs to coordinate the whole proposal. They decide to keep the tax change, but offer financial incentives to businesses that do well. Thus, a win-win situation where energy consumption is lowered, but only the uncommitted businesses suffer economically. Fairy story? The question is, how can internal government coordination practice change?
The governments in this region are trying to collaborate more efficiently.
Yes, but the scale of internal change is not always understood.
There's no chance of that type of collaboration within central government, surely.
It's critical. Some are considering the idea of a powerful cross-cutting government agency that would be responsible for developing and then implementing a strategy across the board.
In all policies, one of the biggest issues that affect the manner in which climate change will be addressed is in how governments address the alignment of the 3 E's in policy-making terms. That's economic policy, energy policy, and also environment policy. Because very often they have competing or contradictory objectives.
Climate change is not owned only by Environment Minister, but also by the Department of Industry, of Forestry, of Agriculture, of Land Use. So climate change is an example that can be used as an integrating factor in which the government then mobilize or get all the departments on one table.
I think leadership, in any sort of organization helps, and in the policy-making arena, even more so, it's crucial. And in Malaysia, we've seen, a great change really, because we've had a change in leadership, and that has actually helped significantly as well.
More than just coral reefs, we could lose airports, we could lose seaports, we could lose highways. And therefore, the solutions must be to develop not only lifeboats where human life can continue to thrive, but lifelines, the connections between those lifeboats, because without lifelines, you have no economies. And without any economies, then we face a real disaster.
Yes, there are some gaps in our knowledge, but research at a regional level could rectify this. In the last few years, there has been a dramatic increase in the amount of regional and country-specific studies. But there remain huge gaps in our understanding about what the impacts are likely to be regionally, and more research is needed to develop solutions. Some of these are technical, but others are social and behavioral and go beyond natural systems. Understanding more about migration patterns, livelihoods of very small farming and fishery businesses, disease prevention education, governance of adaptation. They are the non-technical side of research that are just as important. There is a need to create new research frameworks to share the work and ensure that the knowledge is passed on.
And there is a saying that if you laid all of the economists end to end, they'd never reach a conclusion. And I think some people have said you could say the same about climatologists, but actually with regard to global warming now, most of the climatologists have reached consensus.
The key is identifying areas where perhaps financing, access to capital can make a difference on the margin, and perhaps using our convening power to bring these different groups together.
Well, I think one of the things is we need more dialogues between policymakers and researchers. Right now, there's the research community, more or less working on their own, and there's the policy community, as if at times there are silos between the two communities.
I try to find a common language between the scientific community and the policymaker community together. And of course, it's very important that we find mutual language with the both community. Then we understand together and we work together.
So the young generation, the young politician should really emphasize the development of science, technology, logic, mathematics, physics, and so on, and use that to change the way of development, not exploiting, but enrichment of the natural resource.
There's a lot to do.
And very little time.
A world in recession.
Government short-term firefighting.
Investment falling.
Just years of crisis management.
Hold on there. And many people see this differently. Our leading experts and policymakers passionately believe this as a real opportunity.
I think the time has come when we have to come up with new metrics on what represents success and development. And here may I quote Mahatma Gandhi. He said rightly, speed is irrelevant if you're moving in the wrong direction. You know, it doesn't make sense for people to produce the same goods, the same services, if they're going to pile up, and if in the future the public is not going to buy them.
I think this is really win-win solution for developing country to restructure their economy toward the low carbon economy. So I think this is really a crisis, but for them, for the developing countries, especially, really great opportunity.
I think maybe 1 or 2 years ago, the Thai government really took a step up and they said, we are going to set up a public-private partnership called TGO, Thai Greenhouse Gas Office. And TGO has done an amazing job in terms of really streamlining the host country approval process. A lot of people look at the CDM process as, step 1, step 2, all the way to UN registration. But there's so much support that the local government can give in terms of guiding the project owners, in terms of identifying for them where the opportunities are. So roles that you would expect maybe the private sector to take, in Thailand, they are actually proactively doing it.
There are remarkable things, global movements that are happening already, and I think this is also influencing policymakers in a way, because they know that the public is there and to support these initiatives, and I think it creates that sort of that pressure for them to actually sort of deliver.
It's going to be an exciting time. The question we have to ask ourselves: are we going to resist change, or are we going to embrace it?
So my feeling is that you'll see a snowballing of actions. And therefore, if we look at the next 5 years, I think the end of the road is not Copenhagen. It's really the beginning of a journey. And I'm sure 4 years or 5 years beyond that, you'll see the world willing to take much greater action.
To the young, to the politician, and to the young generation, look forward. I mean, it's a better world. It could be a better world because the science and technology is so improving, and that it is feasible, it is in our reach to have a better life with using rationality, brain power, science, technology, but also belief in God.
It's inspiring.
Certainly challenging.
But what a huge achievement if we make it work.
Exactly. We have the ability to make this a moment in our history when change brings long-lasting benefit to people everywhere. It's an opportunity for us to demonstrate leadership in using low-carbon technologies to support high growth. As they say in the movies, the chips are down and stakes are high. To do nothing is a gamble we cannot take.